Yeah.
Join me for an adventure, oh, much like any other, with twists and turns and plot devices, words and wonder. Now my advice is listen close. What makes this story different is the teller and the told. This one's ours and it's waiting to unfold. So come be merry with me. Yeah. Oh, come be merry with me. Come on, be merry with me. Join me for an adventure, oh, much like any other, with twists and turns and plot devices, words and wonder. Now my advice is listen close. What makes this story different is the teller and the told. This one's ours and it's waiting to unfold.
Well, welcome, I suppose, to Snoopy, I guess. Right on. There seems to be no one here yet, but regardless, if you're watching this on the YouTube or something like that, I welcome you anyhow. Yeah, it's time for another Merry Mitch stream. I'm pretty excited. Hey, what's up, Keaton? Sorry, my viewer thing didn't update, so it currently said I had 0. But hey, how's it going, dude? I'm glad to see you here, Keaton. It warms my heart, to say the least. Because I gotta say, you know, I'd be happy to do this, even if there was nobody watching, but I think any streamer will tell you that there's nothing quite so disheartening as as winding up with, I don't know, no viewers in the stream. I mean, it's our hope as streamers. I know it's certainly mine to have people to entertain. Ah, gotcha. No worries, man. I appreciate the effort. I'm sorry your connection is a little bit shoddy. I pray that it gets better over time. Let's see. Let's start this off how I normally do, with a little tale known as "How did Mitch's day go?" um, my day went pretty alright. I wound up sleeping way longer than I meant to. I went to bed at like not a great hour, but not the worst. Went to bed at like 2 a.m. So I expected to be up around 10 a.m., right? The solid 7 to 8 hours. But no. I was up at 1 p.m. um, it can be, but if I've found that I wind up in a better mood and getting more things done if I wake up with the sun, you know? If I ever get up like around the time the sun is actually rising, that just it tends to start the day off right for me and make for a better day. So whenever I wake up and half the day is already gone or more than half the day is gone, God forbid, it immediately kind of throws a little bit of a wrench into my mood, you know? Oh shoot. Oh, I'm sorry Maddie has poopy Wi-Fi. Um yeah, but regardless, I got up, I ran a few errands. Um I had considered giving up vaping, but as it usually goes, the very next day after I give it up, I I give in. So we'll see if I'm able to do that at another time. But regardless, that was a nice little outing, and I got back. I started watching Somali in the Forest Spirit, which is an adorable little anime. Highly recommend it. It's real wholesome, One of those animes that just warms the heart. Uh, and I've been needing one of those. I've been watching a lot of anime that either has just like immense strife in it or sappy romance and stuff like that. And all that is great and all, but I think my heart was needing some warming. Slice of life is in right now. Yeah, dude, I can get down with some slice of life. Yeah, especially with the climate of the world. We're all needing a little bit of of a slice of life. Dude, funny you mentioned that. I started that today. Along with starting Somali, I watched the first two episodes of Clanad. It's so good. One of my songs, the hang on, which one? What did I call it again? The "Tell Me What's Wrong" on my past lately page. That has quotes from Clanad, and I didn't even realize it. I just looked up like when I was going to make that song. I just typed in and I looked up sad sad like cute anime scenes, and one came up from Clanad, and it's a scene where where Kyo is like running away into the rain, and the main guy chases after her, and she's like, "Go away," and he's like, "Dude, freaking tell me what's wrong." And Kyo's like, "You don't love me, you love that other girl in it," and I don't know. It actually is like a really tender scene. um, and it connected with me, and I decided to make it into a little lo-fi jam. But I'm excited to actually get to that episode, like in the series, and finally see where what the context is behind it all. Though I know about the Dodongos, like the ones from The Legend of Zelda. Is that what you're talking about? Dodangos. Is that like the little candy, like with just the two dot eyes, like the ones that are in the end credits? Yeah, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. The ones that like revolve around family. Dude, it's some good stuff. I just found out about, because it's in the second episode that you find out about like the main character's dad and how his mom is dead. Dude, they just kind of like threw that out there and kind of brushed over it, not gonna lie. Like it like nothing was hinting at it, nothing like nothing even like, I don't know. I had like no clue, and then all of a sudden it just goes like, "Oh yeah, so his dad like drinks a lot and his mom's dead." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, dude. Excuse me." I got her a grumpy blue one and a sweet pink one. Dude. Good, good. I could use some of those, to be honest. Cause you know, I have a couple of like little plushies. I don't know, like I have the little deer fox from Hilda, and of course my little Coca-Cola bear, but I don't know. I feel like I could use some more stuff like that. Brighten up this here room. Either that or a poster or two. I've had the comment before that my walls are really barren. um, but I don't know. I haven't thought to go to get something to put up there. I'm not really sure what to put up there. Something from something I love, I guess. Or just a really nice piece of art. Yeah, I don't know. I do kind of appreciate that my room is simple. Um, it's, yeah, it's like it's kind of comforting that way, you know. Not overwhelming at all, which is nice. The opposite of overwhelming. It's underwhelming. Which, honest to goodness, like that's kind of how I want my room to be. um, a streamer wall. Oh boy. Oh boy. I know my background is too dull. But I don't know. Back there, this little shelf here, it's got some neat stuff on it. Yeah, I've considered doing the green screen, but I don't know. I kind of like, I feel like I like the personal connection that comes with you guys seeing me in my room, you know? And with it just being mostly a reading stream, I don't know. I don't really see the much need for it. So I've heard, Dad. So I've heard. It's true. I could hang up some of my own art. That'd be pretty neat. I'd like one of those. I think what would help is one of those like big boards that you can just pin stuff to. Cause that feels less permanent to me, and I like the feeling of being able to change it at a moment's notice. Ah, now curtains, that could actually be good. Do it. Yeah, I imagine those little boards aren't too expensive, right? What do you even call those? Like the ones with that are like tannish. You can put pins in them. I don't think I know. I don't think I even know what those are called. I can picture it so clearly in my mind, but I got no idea what they're called. A cork board. That's right. They're made out of, yeah. Yeah. Or bulletin board. Heck, I think that's what I was looking for. I like cork board though. It's a little harder to say, but it's more fun to say. Cork board. Cork board. You guys feel me on that one? Cork board. Cork board. Dude, now I'm stuck on it. Can I just say cork board for the rest of the stream? Act as though I'm reading, but just continually say cork board. I'd enjoy that. Heck yeah, heck yeah. Cork board. Well, I say it's about time we get into the recap, shall we? So last time we read about 2 chapters, I'm pretty sure. Chapters 16 and 17. Quirky cork board of cork. Of a cork nature. That could be a good tongue twister. I don't think I'll give it a try. I'm gonna be honest. Let me see. So last time we read 14 and 15, I believe. Yes, so last we left off, our heroes were underground in the labyrinth, having taken Rachel Elizabeth there with them as a means to guide them through this ever-changing, ever-shifting labyrinth that was created by Daedalus. It turned out that Rachel Elizabeth there was the key to their success. She leads them throughout the labyrinth, picking out traps and pointing out the way that seemed to be glowing to her. It leads them the right direction, but unfortunately, that right direction landed them smack dab in the middle of where Luke and his army were passing through, which was this huge underground arena, owned and overseen by this giant Cyclops known as Antaeus. Antaeus had, after everyone was captured, both Percy, Annabeth, and Rachel all captured, they were dragged there, and Percy was put up against another half-blood, Ethan. I forget his last name. Ethan something. Something. I'd like to find his name. Nakamura. Heck, dude. You got the memory of a god. Ethan Nakamura. That's right. Shoot, thank you. Yes, he goes up against this half-blood named Ethan Nakamura. Percy easily beats him. With like very minor difficulty, but Percy out-strategized him and took him down with relative ease. Do you think his mom is Athena? Stop it. Stop it. Could be, though. After beating the eye-patched Ethan Nakamura, Antaeus raises his hand and tells Percy to finish the job. But instead, Percy says, "No, dude, what the heck?" And offers up his hand to Ethan and picks him up and says, "No, I'm not going to do that. You can't make me." Antaeus is outraged, and Percy decides, oh gosh, I need to do something, otherwise every one of us is going to get killed here. So he calls out to Antaeus and says, "Hey, if you're this great warrior, come down and fight me yourself." Antaeus, seeing that he had really no other option, lest he look like a little wimpy doo-doo pants man, jumps down, and this son of Gaia, this huge, lumbering, imposing sumo wrestler-esque Cyclops faces down with our hero Percy Jackson. They fight, and after realizing that Antaeus has an ability to heal himself if he is landlocked, Percy devises a plan to lift Antaeus into the air using the chains around him, and manages to slay Antaeus, which is quite the feat. After slaying Antaeus, he realizes that the deal that was made with Antaeus, Luke would not recognize because Antaeus was dead, and thus his oaths die with him, I believe it was said. After hearing that, and realizing that they were surrounded by a horde of Luke's monsters, now with Antaeus not holding Luke back at all, he had to do something. The ice whistle in his pocket that was given to him by Quintus started growing colder, and he knew, you can't stop putting this off. He brings out the whistle, blows on it, and out of seemingly nowhere bounds the great Mrs. O'Leary, the hellhound, the seemingly domesticated hellhound, and pet to Quintus. With the hellhound, Mrs. O'Leary's help, they manage to flee and escape, along with Ethan Nakamura. They run, and with Rachel Elizabeth Dare's help, manage to get away and dodge their captors, and make it to Daedalus's workshop at long last. They enter in, and it's just as awesome as they imagined it would be. These architectural designs that seem more like artwork, that are Da Vinci-esque, all over the place, and various projects in the works, all around, just strewn across the room. And soon enough, they hear a voice as they're discussing kind of, what all has happened and what they are to do going forward. I'm also trying to remember. Oh, that's right. Okay. So down the steps, they hear a voice saying, "Ah, I see you've made it." And they turn, and expecting Daedalus, they find Quintus in front of them. Quintus soon reveals that he was actually Daedalus all along, and he had come to the surface and worked at Camp Half-Blood in an effort to decide who deserved his help more. He chose the Titan's side, but because he believed that the lie that was told to him, that he would, after all this was over, be given dominion over hell, and thus be able to live forever, and cast Minos out, his longest and oldest rival and enemy. But as I said, this was a lie. He once he realized this, as Kelly, the what are they called? What is Kelly called again? Do you guys remember? Imposa. Yeah, that's spelled wrong, but you got it right. After Kelly the Imposa appears with a few drachnae and a Lastrygonian giant by her side, and Nico D'Angelo, the son of Hades, along with them, captured, and leading the charge, Minos, now almost in physical form. Their huge battle ensues, where Nikos gets fed up with Minos and his lies, and literally drags Minos back to hell, along with the ghosts that he tried to summon. Kelly is defeated and dispatched by Annabeth after fighting with Percy for a little bit there, and Daedalus, or Quintus, as he's known now, fights with the last Dragonian giant desperately. His immortal, seemingly immortal body being cut to shreds, but him still hanging on to his life as our heroes fly away on the wings that Daedalus has been perfecting over the years. And that is where we left off. A lot of stuff has happened, but I think I covered most of it. So, without further ado, are we ready for story time? I know I am. Yeah. And Keaton, thank you very much for the help with the recap, dude. I do these off the top of my head, so any help whenever I stumble is immensely appreciated. Nice. My tea has reached the proper temperature. That's okay, dude. And I know like Thursday nights are a little bit up in the air as to what we do. But I think for the most part, I like the idea of giving another day to Percy Jackson. Really for my own sake. Because I tend to really enjoy these nights and they seem popular enough with you guys. So, this is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. 16. I open a coffin. Jumping out a window 500 feet above ground is not usually my idea of fun, especially when I'm wearing bronze wings and flapping my arms like a duck. I plummeted toward the valley and the red rocks below. I was pretty sure I was going to become a grease spot in the Garden of the Gods, as Annabeth yelled from somewhere above me. "Spread your arms! Keep them extended!" The small part of my brain that wasn't engulfed in panic heard her, and my arms responded. As soon as I spread them out, the wings stiffened, caught the wind, and my descent slowed. Oh, snap. Well. Welcome. What's good indeed. Heck yeah. Thank you so much, Mobbin, for the raid. Mobbin is a traitor. Oh no. I love you too, Mobbin. From the bottom of my heart. Heck yeah, Percy Jackson again. You guys just missed out on the recap. But I could try to give you like a little recap if you're interested. We just started the reading though, so you guys are just in time. Man, it's so good to see all of you guys. Dark Nut, Hodor, Impulse. Heck yeah. You guys got perfect timing. Just in time to come get cozy, come get comfy, and hear a little bedtime story. Hey, what's up, Sammy? By the way, Hodor would that by chance be a reference would that by chance be the reference that I'm thinking of? Your name? What's up, Jenny? Welcome. I think most of you guys know what I do here, right? Do you want the spiel um, I don't know, who Mary Mitch is and what I do here? Yes, that's what I was thinking of, Hodor. Yes, indeed. Well. Holy crap. I agree, Dark Nut. Well, I suppose with the raid coming in, I'll restart the chapter. Start it from the top. I had only gotten like 2 paragraphs in after all. So, is everybody ready? Settle in, find yourself a blanket or a robe or something, and get yourselves cozy and ready to hear a story. Because this is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. Read by Mary Mitch. 16. I open a coffin. Jumping out a window 500 feet above ground is not usually my idea of fun, especially when I'm wearing bronze wings and flapping my arms like a duck. I plummeted toward the valley and the red rocks below. I was pretty sure I was going to become a grease spot in the Garden of the Gods as Annabeth yelled from somewhere above me, "Spread your arms! Keep them extended!" The small part of my brain that wasn't engulfed in panic heard her, and my arms responded. As soon as I spread them out, the wings stiffened, caught the wind, and my descent slowed. I soared downward, but at a controlled angle, like a kite in a dive. Experimentally, I flapped my arms once. I arced into the sky, the wind whistling in my ears. Yeah! I yelled. The feeling was unbelievable. After getting the hang of it, I felt like the wings were part of my body. I could soar and swoop and dive anywhere I wanted to. I turned and saw my friends, Rachel, Annabeth, and Nico, spiraling above me, glinting in the sunlight. Behind them, smoke billowed from the windows of Daedalus's workshop. "Land!" Annabeth yelled. "These wings won't last forever." "How long?" Rachel cried. "I don't want to find out," Annabeth said. We swooped down toward the Garden of the Gods. I did a complete circle around one of the rock spires and freaked out a couple of climbers. Then the 4 of us soared across the valley, over a road, and landed on the terrace of the visitor center. It was late afternoon, and the place looked pretty empty, but we ripped off our wings as quickly as we could. Looking at them, I could see Annabeth was right. The self-adhesive seals that bound the wings to our feathers, or to our backs, were already melting, and we were shedding bronze feathers. It seemed a shame, but we couldn't fix them, and couldn't leave them around for the mortals, so we stuffed the wings in the trash bin outside of the cafeteria. I used the tourist binocular camera to look up at the hill where Daedalus's workshop had been, but it had vanished. No more smoke, no more broken windows, just the side of a hill. "The workshop moved," Annabeth guessed. "There's no telling where." "So what do we do now?" I asked. "How do we get back in the maze?" Annabeth gazed at the summit of Pike's Peak in the distance. "Maybe we can't. If Daedalus died, He said his life force was tied to the labyrinth. The whole thing might have been destroyed. Maybe that will stop Luke's invasion. I thought about Grover and Tyson, still down there somewhere, and Daedalus. Even though he'd done some terrible things and put everybody I cared about at risk, it still seemed like a pretty horrible way to die. No, Nico said. He isn't dead. How can you be sure? I asked. I know when people die. It's this feeling I get, like a buzzing in my ears. What about Tyson and Grover then? Nico shook his head. That's harder. They're not humans nor half-bloods. They don't have mortal souls. We have to get into town, Annabeth decided. Our chances will be better of finding an entrance to the labyrinth. We have to make it back to camp before Luke and his army. We could just take a plane, Rachel said. I shuddered. I don't fly. But you just did? That was low flying, I said, and even that's risky. Flying up really high, that's Zeus's territory. I can't do it. Besides, we don't even have time for a flight. The labyrinth is the quickest way back. I didn't want to say it, but I was hoping that maybe, just maybe, we would find Grover and Tyson along the way. So, we need a car to take us into the city, Annabeth said. Rachel looked down into the parking lot. She grimaced, as if she were about to do something she regretted. I'll take care of it. How? Annabeth asked. Just trust me. Annabeth looked uneasy, but she nodded. Okay. I'm going to buy a prism in the gift shop. Try to make a rainbow and send an iris message to camp. I'll go with you, Nico said. I'm hungry. I'll stick with Rachel then, I said. Meet you guys in the parking lot. Rachel frowned, like she didn't want me with her. That made me feel kind of bad, but I followed her down to the parking lot anyway. She headed toward a big black car parked at the edge of the lot. It was a chauffeured Lexus, like the kind I always saw driving around Manhattan. The driver was out front, reading a newspaper. He wore a dark suit and tie. What are you going to do? I asked Rachel. Just wait here, she said miserably. Please. Rachel marched straight up to the driver and talked to him. He frowned. Rachel said something else. He turned pale and hastily folded up his magazine. He nodded and fumbled for his cell phone. After a brief call, he opened the back door of the car for Rachel to get in. She pointed back in my direction, and the driver bobbed his head some more, like, Yes, ma'am. Whatever you want. I couldn't figure out why he was acting so flustered. Rachel came back to get me just as Nico and Annabeth appeared from the gift shop. I talked to Chiron, Annabeth said. They're doing their best to prepare for battle, but he still wants us back. They're going to need every hero they can get. Did we find a ride? The driver's ready when we are, Rachel said. The chauffeur was now talking to another guy in khakis and a polo shirt, probably his client who'd rented the car. The client was complaining, but I could hear the driver saying, I'm sorry, sir. Emergency. I've ordered another car for you. Come on, Rachel said. She led us to the car and got in without even looking at the flustered guy who'd rented it. A minute later, we were cruising down the road. The seats were leather. There was plenty of legroom. The back seat had flat panel TVs built into the headrest, and a mini fridge stocked with bottled water, sodas, and snacks. We started pigging out. Where to, mister? The driver asked. I'm not sure yet, Robert, she said. We just need to drive through the town and, look around. Whatever you say, miss. I looked at Rachel. Do you know this guy? No. But he dropped everything to help you. Why? Just keep your eyes peeled, she said. Help me look. Which didn't exactly answer my question. We drove through Colorado Springs for about half an hour and saw nothing that Rachel considered a possible labyrinth entrance. I was very aware of Rachel's shoulder pressing against mine. I kept wondering who she was exactly, and how she could walk up to some random chauffeur and immediately get a ride. After about an hour, we decided to head north towards Denver, thinking that maybe a bigger city would be more likely to have a labyrinth entrance. But we were all getting nervous. We were losing time. Then, right as we were leaving Colorado Springs, Rachel sat bolt upright. Get off the highway! The driver glanced back. Miss? I saw something, I think. Get off here. The driver swerved across traffic and took the exit. What did you see? I asked, because we were pretty much out of the city now. There wasn't anything around except hills, grassland, and some scattered farm buildings. Rachel had the driver turn down this unpromising dirt road. We drove by a sign too fast for me to read it, but Rachel said, Western Museum of Mining and Industry. For a museum, it didn't look like much. A little house like an old-fashioned railroad station, some drills and pumps, and old steam shovels on display outside. There! Rachel pointed to a hole in the side of a nearby hill, a tunnel that was boarded up and chained. An old mine entrance. A door to the labyrinth? Annabeth asked. How can you be sure? Well, look at it, Rachel said. I mean, I can see it, okay? She thanked the driver, and we all got out. He didn't ask for money or anything. Are you sure you'll be all right, mister? I'd be happy to call your... No, Rachel said. No, really. Thanks, Robert, but we're fine. The museum seemed to be closed, so nobody bothered us as we climbed the hill to the mine shaft. When we got to the entrance, I saw the mark of Daedalus engraved on the padlock. Though how Rachel had seen something so tiny all the way from the highway, I had no idea. I touched the padlock and the chains fell away. We kicked down a few boards and walked inside. For better or for worse, we were back in the labyrinth. The dirt tunnels turned to stone. They wound around and split off and basically tried to confuse us, but Rachel had no trouble guiding us. We told her we needed to get back to New York. She hardly even paused when the tunnels offered a choice. To my surprise, Rachel and Annabeth started up a conversation as we walked. Annabeth asked her more about her background, but Rachel was evasive, so they started talking about architecture. It turned out that Rachel knew some things about it from studying art. They talked about different facades on buildings around New York. Have you seen this one? Blah, blah, blah. So I hung back and walked next to Nico in uncomfortable silence. Thanks for coming after us, I told him at last. Nico's eyes narrowed. He didn't seem as angry as he used to, Just suspicious. Careful. I owed you for the ranch, Percy. Plus, I wanted to see Daedalus for myself. Minos was right, in a way. Daedalus should die. Nobody should be able to avoid death that long. It's not natural. That's what you were after all along, I said, trading Daedalus's soul for your sister's. Nico walked for another 50 yards before answering. It hasn't been easy, you know, having only the dead for company, knowing that I'll never be accepted by the living. Only the dead respect me. And they only do that out of fear. You could be accepted, I said. You could have friends at camp. He stared at me. Do you really believe that, Percy? I didn't answer. The truth was, I didn't know. Nico had always been a little different, but since Bianca's death, he'd almost gotten scary. He had his father's eyes, that intense, manic fire that made you suspect he was either a genius or a madman. And the way he'd banished Minos and called himself the king of ghosts. It was kind of impressive, but it made me uncomfortable, too. Before I could figure out what to tell him, I ran into Rachel, who'd stopped in front of me. We'd come to a crossroads. The tunnel continued straight ahead, but a side tunnel teed off to the right. A circular shaft carved from black volcanic rock. What is it? I asked. Rachel stared down the dark tunnel. In the dim flashlight beam, her face looked like one of Nico's specters. Is that the way? Annabeth asked. No, Rachel said nervously. Not at all. Why are we stopping then? I asked. Listen, Nico said. I heard wind coming down the tunnel, as if the exit were close, and I smelled something vaguely familiar. Something that brought back bad memories. Eucalyptus trees, I said. Like in California. Last winter, when we'd faced Luke and the Titan Atlas on the top of Mount Tamalpais, the air had smelled just like that. There's something evil down that tunnel, Rachel said. Something very powerful. And the smell of death, Nico added, which made me feel a whole lot better. Annabeth and I exchanged glances. Luke's entrance, she guessed. The one to Mount Orthus. The Titan's palace. I have to check it out, I said. Percy, no. Luke could be right there, I said. Or Kronos. I have to find out what's going on. Annabeth hesitated. Then we'll all go. No, I said. It's too dangerous. If they got hold of Nico, or Rachel for that matter, Kronos could use them. You stay here and guard them. What I didn't say, I was also worried about Annabeth. I didn't trust what she would do if she saw Luke again. He had fooled her and manipulated her too many times before. Percy, don't, Rachel said. Don't go up there alone. I'll be quick, I promised. I won't do anything stupid. Annabeth took her Yankees cap out of her pocket. At least take this. And be careful. Thanks. I remember the last time Annabeth and I had parted ways, when she'd given me a kiss for luck in Mount St. Helens. This time, all I got was the hat. I put it on. Here goes nothing. And I sneaked invisibly down the dark stone tunnel. Before I even got to the exit, I heard voices. The growling, barking sounds of sea demon smiths. The Telkines.
Well, at least we salvaged the blade,
One said.
the master will reward us. Yes, yes,
The second shrieked.
rewards beyond measure.
Another voice, this one more human, said, yeah, well, that's great. Now, if you're done with me,
No, half-blood,
a Telkine said.
you must help us make the presentation. It is a great honor.
Gee, thanks, the half-blood said. And I realized it was Ethan Nakamura, the guy who'd run away after I'd saved his sorry life in the arena. I crept toward the end of the tunnel. I had to remind myself I was invisible. They shouldn't be able to see me. A blast of cold air hit me as I emerged. I was standing near the top of Mount Tom. The Pacific Ocean spread out below, gray under a cloudy sky. About 20 feet downhill, two Telkines were placing something on a big rock. Something long and thin and wrapped in black cloth. Ethan was helping them open it.
Careful, fool,
The Telkine scolded.
one touch, and the blade will sever your soul from your body.
Ethan swallowed nervously. Maybe I'll let you unwrap it then. I glanced up at the mountain's peak, where a black marble fortress loomed, just like I'd seen in my dreams. It reminded me of an oversized mausoleum, with walls 50 feet high. I had no idea how mortals could miss the fact that it was there. But then again, everything below the summit seemed fuzzy to me, as if there were a thick veil between me and the lower half of the mountain. There was magic going on here, really powerful mist. Above me, the sky swirled into a huge funnel cloud. I couldn't see Atlas, but I could hear him groaning in the distance, still laboring under the weight of the sky, just beyond the fortress.
There!
The Telkine said. Reverently, he lifted the weapon, and my blood turned to ice. It was a scythe. A 6-foot-long blade, curved like a crescent moon, with a wooden handle wrapped in leather. The blade glinted 2 different colors, steel and bronze. It was the weapon of Kronos, the one he'd used to slice up his father, Uranos, before the gods had taken it away from him, and cut Kronos to pieces, casting him into Tartarus. Now, the weapon was reforged.
We must sanctify it in blood,
The Telkine said.
then you, half-blood, shall help present it when the Lord awakes.
I ran toward the fortress, my pulse pounding in my ears. I didn't want to get anywhere close to that horrible black mausoleum, but I knew what I had to do. I had to stop Kronos from rising. This might be my only chance. I dashed through the dark foyer and into the main hall. The floor shined like a mahogany piano, pure black, and yet full of light. Black marble statues lined the walls. I didn't recognize the faces, but I knew I was looking at images of the titans who'd ruled before the gods. At the end of the room, between two bronze braziers, was a dais, and on the dais, the golden sarcophagus. The room was silent except for the crackle of the fires. Luke wasn't here. No guards. Nothing. It was too easy, but I approached the dais. The sarcophagus was just like I remembered, about 20 feet long, much too big for a human. It was carved with elaborate scenes of death and destruction, pictures of the gods being trodden under chariots, temples and famous world landmarks being smashed and burned. The whole coffin gave off an aura of extreme cold, like I was walking into a freezer. My breath began to steam. I drew Riptide and took a little comfort from the familiar weight of the sword in my hand. Whenever I'd approached Kronos before, his evil voice had spoken in my mind. Why was he silent now? He'd been shred into 1,000 pieces, cut with his own scythe. What would I find if I opened that lid? How could they make a new body for him? I had no answers. I just knew that if he was about to rise, I had to strike him down before he got his scythe. I had to figure out a way to stop him. I stood over the coffin. The lid was decorated even more intricately than the sides, with scenes of carnage and power. In the middle was an inscription carved in letters even older than Greek, a language of magic. I couldn't read it exactly, but I knew what it said. Kronos, Lord of Time. My hand touched the lid. My fingertips turned blue. Frost gathered on my sword. Then I heard noises behind me. Voices approaching. It was now or never. I pushed back the golden lid and it fell to the floor with a huge whoom. I lifted my sword, ready to strike, but when I looked inside, I didn't comprehend what I was seeing. Mortal legs, dressed in gray pants, a white t-shirt, hands folded over his stomach. One piece of his chest was missing, a clean black hole about the size of a bullet wound, right where his heart should have been. His eyes were closed. His skin was pale. Blonde hair, and a scar running along the left side of his face. The body in the coffin was Luke's. I should have stabbed him right then. I should have brought the point of Riptide down with all my strength. But I was too stunned. I didn't understand. As much as I hated Luke, as much as he had betrayed me, I just didn't get why he was in the coffin, and why he looked so very, very dead. The voices of the Talkines were right behind me.
What has happened?
One of the demons screamed when he saw the lid. I stumbled away from the dais, forgetting that I was invisible, and hid behind a column as they approached.
Careful,
the other demon warned.
Perhaps he stirs. We must present the gift now. Immediately.
The two Talkines shuffled forward and knelt, holding up the scythe on its wrapping cloth.
My lord,
one said,
your symbol of power is remade.
Silence. Nothing happened in the coffin.
You fool!
The other Talkine muttered.
He requires the half-blood first.
Ethan stepped back. Whoa. What do you mean he requires me?
Don't be a coward!
The first Talkine hissed.
He does not require your death, only your allegiance. Pledge him your service. Renounce the gods. That is all.
No! I yelled. It was a stupid thing to do, but I charged into the room and took off the cap. Ethan, don't!
Trespasser!
The Talkines bared their sealed teeth.
The master will deal with you soon enough. Hurry, boy.
Ethan, I pleaded. Don't listen to them. Help me destroy it. Ethan turned towards me, his eye patch blending in with the shadows on his face. His expression was something like pity. I told you not to spare me, Percy. An eye for an eye. You ever hear that saying? I learned what it means the hard way when I discovered my godly parent. I'm the child of Nemesis, goddess of revenge. And this is what I was made to do. He turned toward the dais. I renounce the gods. What have they ever done for me? I will see them destroyed. I will serve Kronos. The building rumbled. A wisp of blue light rose from the floor as at Ethan Nakamura's feet. It drifted toward the coffin and began to shimmer, like a cloud of pure energy. Then it descended into the sarcophagus. Luke sat bolt upright. His eyes opened, and they were no longer blue. They were golden, the same color as the coffin. The hole in his chest was gone. He was complete. He leapt out of the coffin with ease, and where his feet touched the floor, the marble froze like craters of ice. He looked at Ethan and the Talkines with those horrible golden eyes, as if he were a newborn baby, not sure of what he was seeing. Then he looked at me, and a smile of recognition crept across his mouth. The body has been well prepared. His voice was like a razor blade running over my skin. It was Luke's, but not Luke's. Under his voice was another, more horrible sound, an ancient, cold sound like metal scraping against rock. Don't you think so, Percy Jackson? I couldn't move. I couldn't answer. Kronos threw back his head and laughed. The scar on his face rippled. Luke feared you, the Titan's voice said. His jealousy and hatred have been powerful tools. It has kept him obedient. For that I thank you. Ethan collapsed in terror. He covered his face with his hands. The Talkines trembled, holding up the scythe. Finally, I found my nerve. I lunged at the thing that used to be Luke, thrusting my blade straight at his chest, but his skin deflected the blow, like he was made of pure steel. He looked at me with amusement. Then he flicked his hand, and I flew across the room. I slammed against a pillar. I struggled to my feet, blinking the stars out of my eyes, but Kronos had already grasped the handle of his scythe.
Much better, he said. Backbiter, Luke called it. An appropriate name. Now that it is reforged completely, it shall indeed bite back.
What have you done to Luke? I groaned. Kronos raised his scythe.
He serves me with his whole being as I require. The difference is he feared you, Percy Jackson. I do not.
That's when I ran. There wasn't even any thought to it. No debate in my mind about, gee, should I stand up to him and try to fight again? No, I simply ran. But my feet felt like lead. Time slowed down around me, like the world was turning to jello. I'd had this feeling once before, and I knew it was the power of Kronos. His presence was so strong, it could bend time itself.
Run, little hero, he laughed. Run!
I glanced back and saw him approaching leisurely, swinging his scythe as if he were enjoying the feeling of having it in his hands again. No weapon in the world could stop him. No amount of celestial bronze. He was 10 feet away when I heard, "Percy!" Rachel's voice. Something flew past me. A blue plastic hairbrush hit Kronos in the eye.
Ow!
He yelled. For a moment, it was only Luke's voice, full of surprise and pain. My limbs were freed, and I ran straight into Rachel, Nico, and Annabeth, who were standing in the entry hall, their eyes wide with dismay. "Luke!" Annabeth called. "What?" I grabbed her by the shirt and hauled her after me. I ran as fast as I've ever run, straight out of the fortress. We were almost back to the Labyrinth entrance when I heard the loudest bellow in the world. The voice of Kronos coming back into control.
After them!
"No!" Nico yelled. He clapped his hands together, and a jagged spire of rock, the size of an 18-wheeler, erupted from the ground right in front of the fortress. The tremor it caused was so powerful, the front columns of the building came crashing down. I heard muffled screams from Telkines inside. Dust billowed everywhere. We plunged into the labyrinth and kept running, the howl of the Titan Lord shaking the entire world behind us. Man, what a nice dad Chiron has. What a nice father. Shoot, I hope some of Kronos' lines didn't clip the mic or anything. Man, I can tell that Kronos voice is gonna weigh on my throat. Thankfully, I'll have a break from it after tonight. No clippage. Let's go. Let's go. Nice. I figured I had the settings a little bit better this time around. They're the same as yesterday, but the one before yesterday, I felt like I listened back at the VOD and it seemed like the whole entire thing was clipping. Dang, dude. Dang. Dang. Dude, I forgot Kronos freaking... I won't say anything. Hey, May. Didn't realize you were here. I nearly said something that... Well, I don't know. It's kind of a spoiler, kind of isn't. But what's up, May? I'm glad you're here. I know, I gotta curb my tongue for the moment. Man, but what a chapter. What a chapter. You're welcome, May. I know, and it's funny because, like, I saw your name as I was saying, man, Kronos freaking... I will not continue that sentence, though. Whew. Goodness, dude. That chapter escalated, though. That chapter absolutely escalated. I hope I'm getting... I am curious. Am I getting, like, that kind of metallic kind of sound into Kronos' voice? It's funny because growing up, I imagine his voice much more like deeper and like distorted and lower, kind of like how Atlas's was. But, you know, with how it's described in the book, it's interesting when it says that it is much more metallic and like and cruel, you know? Like I don't know. It's kind of cool. I like that take on it. No worries. I'll wait till like the very end to talk more deeply into how I felt about the chapters tonight. Well, shoot. I think I could definitely use a break after that one. As I said, my throat is actually feeling it from that one. So we're gonna jump to a break. I'm gonna stretch out my limbs and go hit the bathroom and take some sips of my tea. Heck yeah. I also wanted to shout out again, Mob and Dirty. I appreciate you rating me, man. That was really, really nice of you. You more than doubled my viewership in one fell swoop, which is, I don't know, it's heckin' cool. And I don't know, not much more to say. Just, I'm grateful. And yeah, so during this break, guys, go ahead and grab yourselves some snacks, any kind of drink that you might like, maybe some tea of some kind. I recommend tea. It's a good thing to drink right before bed. Soothes the soul and the mind. And yeah, and also stand up during the break. Stretch out your limbs. It's a good thing for one to do, trust me. Yeah, that's all. I'll see you guys very soon. Let's see, it's about 40 past the hour where I'm at, so I'll aim to be back by 50 past the hour. Sounds good. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Till then, my wildflowers, keep on swaying. Be right back. and enjoy the jams while I'm away. I love you guys bunches. We'll be right back. Mwah.
What? There's nothing wrong.
Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong. Joe. Tell me what's wrong.
Until we accept reality, we can't make any progress.
It's a shame. I was comfortable there.
A lot of people have done so much for me, but
Nej,
I no longer believe in myself.
nej.
Will I make it
Nej,
on my own?
nej.
Am I capable of great things alone?
Nej.
Take my hand and hold it tight, be my guide. It's getting hard to see in this darkness on my own. Take my hand, hold on tight. Take my hand as we make our way slowly to the unknown. Take my hand, I think my vision's finally clearing up. So hold on tight,
Nej,
hold on tight. I can make it
nej,
on my own.
nej.
I am capable of great things alone.
Nej,
Take my hand and hold it tight. Stay here at my side. But if you let go, I think I'll be just fine.
Laro?
Welcome back. How's everybody doing? I myself am doing pretty dang dandy, if I do say so myself. I went and pow hit the restroom. I came back. I did some stretching, and then I sat in my chair for a little bit and enjoyed the music. I pray everybody's break was, yeah, real nice. Nice, nice. I'm glad, May. I'm glad. Dude, there was a little while where a friend and I had this running joke where I'd say like I'd be like, "Oh, noise, noise," and then whenever I'd say that, he'd come back at me with, "No ice, no ice, Mitch, no ice, no ice," and it cracked me up, dude. I don't know why. It's one of those things. What did I mean by Clannad? Clannad is a slice of life anime, a real popular one. It's got like romance and some like hardships and just kind of regular like life stuff in it, and it's a real sweet anime. And the first song that I played at the start of the break has samples from that very show. The one that I titled "Tell Me What's Wrong." And it's that one that goes bum bum ba-da, da-da-da-da-da, ba-ba-ba-da, bum bum ba-da-da-da, do-do-do-do-do, do-do, do-do, do-do-do, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-ba-ba-da-da-da. It's a nice one. It's some solid like lo-fi. I'll let Keaton tell you who Maddie is. She's a pretty cool gal though, if I do say so myself. It is a really sad anime. Oh, I don't know. It's one of those that has some sad portions certainly, but it's got some good parts too. As far as I know, I've only seen the first 2 episodes though, so don't know if I'm entirely in the right to speak on it. I answered your question before that even came up. Yeah, 2 episodes so far. At least I think so. Let me look to be sure. What? My apologies. I needed to mute the site. Yep, I'm on episode 3. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too loud. The no. That was from, whenever you load up Netflix and it immediately plays a trailer no matter what. That's what we all just experienced. No, makes sense. Prepare yourself for the big sad in Clannad. Oh, it rhymes even. The big sad in Clannad. Oh. I'll try. That's why I'm watching Somali and the Forest Spirit alongside it. Trying to balance it out with some wholesome, but freaking Somali and the Forest Spirit has some heartache to it as well. It's a different kind of heartache though. Meh. I both love having my heart torn apart and hate it at the same time. I'll let you guys know once I get to the big sad in Clannad. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's something that I do in general, especially if I wind up watching like a much darker anime, like Death Parade or Death Note or Psycho Pass, anything along those similar lines, or Attack on Titan even. Whenever I watch through freaking Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood even, whenever I watch like something along those lines, I try to watch alongside it something to balance it out, because I'm a big proprietor of the eyes being the window to my soul. Thus, whatever I'm taking in is going to affect my mood and how I'm thinking. And if I fill it only with death notes and death parades, soon enough I'll be I don't know. I'll be thinking in a not too great fashion. They are good anime, not gonna lie. But they can I don't know, they can warp my thoughts. As I don't know, you guys have seen it even, when I read a story, like I get invested to the point where it really does affect me and shake me, like depending on what the topic is. And I'm one of those guys that really does let media, like, I don't know, I let media kind of take hold, or rather I empathize with it to the point where it affects my day-to-day life if I'm not too careful. But that can be a really good thing too. Like I said, if I watch something that's like inspiring or beautiful or heartwarming, it has the same effect, only in a positive manner. And I believe that happens with everybody, but not everybody is very aware of it, A lot of times we just consume stuff and don't think about what it's doing to our brains or our souls. Thank you. I'm here to offer sage wisdom whenever it is appropriate. Well, right on, guys. I think it's about time we jump back into our story. So come get cozy and hear a story. Come get cozy, hear a story today. Cool beans. Alright. Sorry, May. You may need to mute it now. I'm gonna jump into the reading. Nice. That's real insightful, May. And yes, big spoily time. So, this is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. 17. The Lost God Speaks. We ran until we were exhausted. Rachel steered us away from traps, but we had no destination in mind. Only away from that dark mountain and the roar of Kronos. We stopped in a tunnel of wet white rock, like part of a natural cave. I couldn't hear anything behind us, but I didn't feel any safer. I could still remember those unnatural golden eyes staring out of Luke's face, and the feeling that my limbs were slowly turning to stone. I can't go any further, Rachel gasped, hugging her chest. Annabeth had been crying the entire time we'd been running. Now she collapsed and put her head between her knees. Her sobs echoed in the tunnel. Nico and I sat next to each other. He dropped his sword next to mine and took a shaky breath. That sucked, he said, which I thought summed things up pretty well. You saved our lives, I said. Nico wiped the dust off his face. Blame the girls for dragging me along. That's the only thing they could agree on. We needed to help you, or you'd mess things up. Nice that they trust me so much. I shined my flashlight across the cavern. Water dripped from the stalactites like a slow-motion rain. Nico, you, kind of gave yourself away. What do you mean? The wall of black stone? That was pretty impressive. If Kronos didn't know who you were before, he does now. A child of the underworld. Nico frowned. Big deal. I let it drop. I figured he was just trying to hide how scared he was, and I couldn't blame him. Annabeth lifted her head. Her eyes were red from crying. What was wrong with Luke? What did they do to him? I told her what I'd seen in the coffin. The way the last piece of Kronos' spirit had entered Luke's body when Ethan Nakamura pledged his service. No, Annabeth said. That can't be true. He couldn't. He gave himself over to Kronos, I said. I'm sorry, Annabeth. But Luke is gone. No, she insisted. You saw when Rachel hit him. I nodded, looking at Rachel with respect. You hit the Lord of the Titans in the eye with a blue plastic hairbrush. Rachel looked embarrassed. It was the only thing I had. But you saw, Annabeth insisted. When it hit him, just for a second, he was dazed. He came back to his senses. So maybe Kronos wasn't completely settled in the body, or whatever. I said. It doesn't mean Luke was in control. You want him to be evil, is that it? Annabeth yelled. You didn't know him before, Percy. I did. What is it with you? I snapped. Why do you keep defending him? Oh, you two, Rachel said. Knock it off. Annabeth turned on her. Stay out of it, mortal girl. If it wasn't for you... Whatever she was going to say, her voice broke. She put her head down again and sobbed miserably. I wanted to comfort her, but I didn't know how. I still felt stunned, like Kronos' time-slow effect had affected my brain. I just couldn't comprehend what I'd seen. Kronos was alive. He was armed, and the end of the world was probably close at hand. We have to keep moving, Nico said. He'll send monsters after us. Nobody was in any shape to run, but Nico was right. I hauled myself up and helped Rachel to her feet. You did good back there, I told her. She managed a weak smile. Yeah, well, I didn't want you to die. She blushed. I mean, just because, you owe me too many favors. How am I going to collect if you die? I knelt next to Annabeth. Hey, I'm sorry. We need to move. I know, she said. I'm all right. She was clearly not all right, but she got to her feet and we started straggling through the labyrinth again. Back to New York, I said. Rachel, can you... I froze. A few feet in front of us, my flashlight beam fixed on a trampled clump of red fabric lying on the ground. It was a Rasta cap, the one Grover always wore. My hand shook as I picked up the cap. It looked like it had been stepped on by a huge, muddy boot. After all that I'd gone through today, I couldn't stand the thought that something might have happened to Grover, too. Then I noticed something else. The cave floor was mushy and wet from the water dripping off the stalactites. There were large footprints, like Tyson's, and smaller ones, goat hooves, leading off to the left. "We have to follow them," I said. "They went that way. It must have been recently." "What about Camp Half-Blood?" Nico said. "There's no time." "We have to find them," Annabeth insisted. "They're our friends." She picked up Grover's smashed cap and forged ahead. I followed, bracing myself for the worst. The tunnel was treacherous. It sloped at weird angles and was slimy with moisture. Half the time we were slipping and sliding rather than walking. Finally, we got to the bottom of a slope and found ourselves in a large cave with huge stalagmite columns. Through the center of the room ran an underground river, and Tyson was sitting by the banks, cradling Grover in his lap. Grover's eyes were closed. He wasn't moving. "Tyson!" I yelled. "Percy, come quick!" We ran over to him. Grover wasn't dead, thank the gods, but his whole body trembled like he was freezing to death. "What happened?" I asked. "So many things," Tyson murmured. "Large snake, large dog, men with swords, but then we got close to here. Grover was excited, he ran. Then we reached this room, and he fell, like this." "Did he say anything?" I asked. "He said, 'We're close.' Then he hit his head on rocks." I knelt next to him. The only other time I'd seen Grover pass out was in New Mexico, when he'd felt the presence of Pan. I shined my flashlight around the cavern. The rocks glittered. At the far end was the entrance to another cave, flanked by gigantic columns of crystal that looked like diamonds. And beyond that entrance... "Grover," I said, "wake up." Annabeth knelt next to him and splashed icy cold river water in his face. His eyes fluttered open. "Percy? Annabeth? Where?" "It's okay," I said. "You passed out. The presence was too much for you." I remember. Pan." "Yeah," I said. "Something powerful is just beyond that doorway." I made quick introductions, since Tyson and Grover had never met Rachel. Tyson told Rachel she was pretty, which made Annabeth's nostrils flare like she was going to blow fire. "Anyway," I said, "come on, Grover. Lean on me." Annabeth and I helped him up, and together we waded across the underground river. The current was strong. The water came up to our waists. I willed myself to stay dry, which is a handy little ability, but that didn't help the others. I could still feel the cold, like wading through a snowdrift. "I think we're in Carlsbad Caverns," Annabeth said, her teeth chattering. "Maybe an unexplored section." How do you know?" "Carlsbad is in New Mexico," she said. That would explain last winter." I nodded. Grover's swooning episode had happened when we passed through New Mexico. That's where he'd left. That's where he'd felt closest to the power of Pan. We got out of the water and kept walking. As the crystal pillars loomed larger, I started to feel the power emanating from the next room. I'd been in the presence of gods before, but this was different. My skin tingled with living energy. My weariness fell away as if I'd just gotten a good night's sleep. I could feel myself growing stronger, like one of those plants in a time-lapse video. And the scent coming from the cave was nothing like the dank, wet underground. It smelled of trees and flowers and a warm summer day. Grover whimpered with excitement. I was too stunned to talk. Even Nico seemed speechless. We stepped into the cave and Rachel said, "Oh, wow." The walls glittered with crystals, red, green, and blue in a strange light. Beautiful plants grew, giant orchids, star-shaped flowers, vines bursting with orange and purple berries that crept among the crystals. The cave floor was covered with soft green moss. Overhead, the ceiling was higher than a cathedral, sparkling like a galaxy of stars. In the center of the cave stood a Roman-style bed, gilded wood shaped like a curly U, with velvet cushions. Animals lounged around it. But they weren't animals. They were animals that shouldn't have been alive. There was a dodo bird, something that looked like a cross between a wolf and a tiger. A huge rodent, like the mother of all guinea pigs. And roaming behind the bed, picking berries with its trunk, was a woolly mammoth. On the bed lay an old satyr. He watched us as we approached, his eyes as blue as the sky. His curly hair was white, and so was his pointed beard. Even the goat fur on his legs was frosted with gray. His horns were enormous, glossy brown and curved. There was no way he could have hidden those under a hat the way Grover did. Around his neck hung a set of reed pipes. Grover fell to his knees in front of the bed. "Lord Pan!" The god smiled kindly, but there was sadness in his eyes. "Grover, my dear, brave satyr, I have waited a very long time for you." "I got lost," Grover apologized. Pan laughed. It was a wonderful sound, like the first breeze of springtime, filling the whole cavern with hope. The tiger wolf sighed and rested his head on the god's knee. The dodo bird pecked affectionately at the god's hooves, making a strange sound in the back of its bill. I could swear it was humming, "It's a small world." Still, Pan looked tired. His whole form shimmered as if he were made of mist. I noticed my other friends were kneeling. They had odd looks on their faces. I got to my knees. "You have a humming dodo bird," I said stupidly. The god's eyes twinkled. "Yes, that's Dee Dee, my little actress." Dee Dee, the dodo, looked offended. She pecked at Pan's knee and hummed something that sounded like a funeral dirge. "This is the most beautiful place," Annabeth said. "It's better than any building ever designed." "I'm glad you like it, dear," Pan said. "It is one of the last wild places. My realm above is gone, I'm afraid. Only pockets remain, tiny pieces of life. This one shall stay undisturbed for a little longer." My lord, Grover said, please, you must come back with me. The elders will never believe it. They'll be overjoyed. You can save the wild. Pan placed a hand over Grover's head and ruffled his curly hair. You are so young, Grover. So good and true. I think I chose well. Chose? Grover said. I don't understand. Pan's image flickered, momentarily turning to smoke. The giant guinea pig scuttled under the bed with a terrified squeal. The woolly mammoth grunted nervously. Dee Dee stuck her head under her wing. Then Pan reformed. I have slept many eons, the god said forlornly. My dreams have been dark. I wake fitfully, and each time my waking is shorter. Now we are near the end. What? Grover cried. But no! You're right here! My dear satyr, Pan said, I tried to tell the world 2,000 years ago. I announced it to Lysa's, a satyr very much like you. He lived in Ephesus, and he tried to spread the word. Annabeth's eyes widened. The old story. A sailor passing by the coast of Ephesus heard a voice crying from the shore. Tell them the great god Pan is dead. But that wasn't true, Grover said. Your kind never believed it, Pan said. You sweet, stubborn satyrs refused to accept my passing. And I love you for that. But you only delayed the inevitable. You only prolonged my long, painful passing, my dark twilight sleep. It must end. No. No. Grover's voice trembled. Dear Grover, Pan said, you must accept the truth. Your companion, Nico, he understands. Nico nodded slowly. He's dying. He should have died a long time ago. This is more like a memory. But gods can't die, Grover said. They can fade, Pan said. When everything they stood for is gone. When they cease to have power, and their sacred places disappear. The wild, my dear Grover, is so small now, so shattered, that no god can save it. My realm is gone. That is why I need you to carry a message. You must go back to the council. You must tell the satyrs and the dryads and the other spirits of nature that the great god Pan is dead. Tell them of my passing, because they must stop waiting for me to save them. I cannot. The only salvation you must make for yourselves. Each of you must... He stopped and frowned at the dodo bird, who had started humming again. Dee Dee, what are you doing? Pan demanded. Are you singing Kumbaya again? Dee Dee looked up innocently and blinked her yellow eyes. Pan sighed. Everybody's a cynic. But as I was saying, my dear Grover, each of you must take up my calling. But, no, Grover whimpered. Be strong, Pan said. You have found me. And now you must release me. You must carry on my spirit. It can no longer be carried by a god. It must be taken up by all of you. Pan looked straight at me with his clear blue eyes. Then I realized he wasn't just talking about the satyrs. He meant half-bloods, too. And humans. Everyone. Percy Jackson, the god said. I know what you have seen today. I know your doubts. But I give you this news. When the time comes, you will not be ruled by fear. He turned to Annabeth. Daughter of Athena, your time is coming. You will play a great role, though it may not be a role you imagined. Then he looked at Tyson. Master Cyclops, do not despair. Heroes rarely live up to our expectations. But you, Tyson, your name shall live on among the Cyclopses for generations. And Miss Rachel Dare. Rachel flinched when he said her name. She backed up like she was guilty of something, but Pan only smiled. He raised his hand in a blessing. I know you believe I cannot make amends, he said. Or I know you believe you cannot make amends, he said. But you are just as important as your father. Rachel faltered. A tear traced her cheek. I know you don't believe this now, Pan said, but look for opportunities. They will come. Finally, he turned back to Grover. My dear satyr, Pan said kindly, will you carry my message? I can't. You can, Pan said. You are the strongest and bravest. Your heart is true. You have believed in me more than anyone has, which is why you must bring the message, and why you must be the first to release me. I don't want to. I know, the god said, but my name, Pan, originally it meant rustic. Did you know that? But over the years, it has come to mean all. The spirit of the wild must pass to all of you now. You must tell each one you meet if you would find Pan. Take up Pan's spirit. Remake the wild, a little at a time. Each in your own corner of the world. You cannot wait for anyone else, even a god, to do that for you. Grover wiped his eyes. Then slowly he stood. I spent my whole life looking for you. Now, I release you. Pan smiled. Thank you, dear satyr. My final blessing. He closed his eyes, and the god dissolved. White mist divided into wisps of energy. But this kind of energy wasn't scary like the blue power I'd seen from Kronos. It filled the room. A curl of smoke went straight into my mouth and Grover's and the others. But I think a little more of it went into Grover. The crystals dimmed. The animals gave us a sad look. Dee Dee the dodo sighed. Then they all turned gray and crumbled to dust. The vines withered, and we were alone in a dark cave with an empty bed. I switched on my flashlight. Grover took a deep breath. Are you okay? I asked him. He looked older and sadder. He took his cap from Annabeth, brushed off the mud, and stuck it firmly on his curly head. We should go now, he said, and tell them. The great god Pan is dead. Dang. What a time for them to find him. Just... God, but what... come on. I thought Pan was gonna be like a hope thing. Pan was gonna be like, yo, hey, I got your back. Kronos might be like a titan, but I am the freaking nature god. We can do this together. But, I don't know. It does make more sense. I just think it's a little more impactful after the chapter, prior to it. Right after they run terrified from that metallic, cursed voice of Kronos. They come across seemingly his opposite. You know what it reminds me of, oddly? And I don't know if this is entirely this entirely makes sense, but it's like Kronos is all for one, and Pan is the one for all. Right? Because Pan is all of us. I guess now he was. Dude, Keaton, stop asking that. Stop it. Stop asking that. I beg you. It is a good question, but I think you know the answer, dude. As much as he's like a, I don't know, good brother to Percy, he's also still a monster. If who is that? Who's the Cyclops from the Sea of Monsters? Prometheus? Polyphemus. If Polyphemus goes to Tartarus when he dies, unfortunately that means the same fate awaits our dear Tyson. as far as I know, that's what I would think. Unless my only thing is it would be unless Poseidon did something about that. I think so, yeah. And him being like a good monster, I feel like he wouldn't be sent as far down as some of the meaner ones do, you know? That's true. But Tyson only grows more powerful as time goes on. It's kind of wicked to know that like Tyson will continue to grow. Like he's gonna one day be he's gonna be as big as Polyphemus, right? That's freaking wild. Has Percy ever even considered that? Has Percy ever thought about that? Like one day he's gonna walk up to Tyson and be like, "Hey, yo, how's it going, bro?" Yeah, it's partially why he acts like a 5-year-old sometimes. Hey, yo, bruh. Bruh. Yeah, Tyson's gonna go off and like live in the underwater forges for like 10 years and come back just this crazy huge being. And since he's a monster, do monsters have like lifespans, or is it just they die when they're, is it like a huntress thing where they just kind of die if they're killed in battle? Or is it different for every monster? For every monster. Monster cheese. Yeah, I thought so. Makes sense for it to be a huntress thing. Also, I hope I did the Pan voice justice. I don't know. I like the voice that I did for it. It was basically like a deeper, like older and wiser Grover. That's pretty much like, I don't know. That's how I envisioned it pretty much. Did you like my everyone impression? Heck yeah, dude. Now I think I'm the ultimate voice actor now, right? I've done a voice for everyone. I'm sorry. I just cracked myself up. Whew. Whew. Yeah, and I only brought in like the bleeding when he got more like intense with what he was saying, you know? When he was trying to drive the point forward a little more. Yeah, we're taking a little break. Sorry if you saw my little giggle fit. It was because I don't know, I made a joke for like to myself. It cracked me up. Heck, it's still cracking me up. I've got my giggle bone has been tickled. Trying to calm it down with tea, but doesn't seem to be working. Well, speaking of breaks, I think I am gonna go like use the restroom, but then we'll come back. I'll try to keep this break to be a little bit shorter than the last one. But we've got one more chapter to read. Chapter 18. as you can see, we are wickedly close to the end of the book here. And whenever we get closer to the end, I find like the chapters that get close to the end, usually not the final chapter, but the ones preceding it, get freaking wild. It's where everything ramps up. At least I know in these last books. Whoa, dude. I know, right? We kind of flew through this book too. Granted, thankfully we had, more days to read this week. But yeah, we'll be starting on the last book soon enough. I know, I can't help it, May. I don't know, I could take like a break from reading Percy Jackson, but could I though? Could I do that? I don't know if I could, dude. I love these books to death, bro. Well, okay guys, let's go ahead and jump to that break so that we can get back and finish up this last chapter. Remember during this break to go grab a snackaroo or a drinkaroo. Get up from your chair. Do a little dance. Kind of like this one. Move your body. It is good for you. And we will return very shortly. And again, May, as I said the last time, take your time with those books. Please don't rush on my account. Because those books deserve the time spent on them. As I myself, I haven't even been rushing through these books is the thing. I just, I don't know. I guess when you do this like 4 times at least, or sometimes 3 to 4 times a week, you get some chapters read. All right. Much love, everybody, and until I return, my wildflowers, keep on swaying. Be right back. See you soon, dudes. It's about 40 past the hour again, so we'll return at 50 past the hour. See you soon.
What do I give? How do I live in this life of ours? All I know is that I take plenty from here under the stars. I won't revive, I won't relive. I accept what I've done and I forgive. What do I give? How do I live in this life of ours? All I know is that I take plenty from here under the stars. I won't revive, I won't relive. I accept what I've done and I forgive. What do I give? How do I live in this life of ours? All I know is that I take plenty from here under the stars. I won't revive, I won't relive. I accept what I've done and I forgive. Many mistakes lead me to ravenous haze. Nebulous days lead me to ravenous haze, which will block my gaze. Illusory ways make feelings that don't stay. In and out they face. Is it always that my tangible wishes are just out of reach? Endless days lead me to ravenous haze, which will block my gaze. Illusory ways make feelings that don't stay. In and out they fade. Is it always that? My intangible wishes are just out of reach.
やれやれ。退屈だと言って何も行動せず、刺激を求める割には挑戦しない。
Feelings that don't stay. Feelings that don't stay. Feelings that don't stay.
いいかい、埼玉市。人生は当てのない旅だよ。新しい景色を見るためには自分で道を切り開くしかないんだ。
Is it always that? Is it always that? My intangible wishes are just out of reach. Are just out of reach. Is it always that? Is it always that? Became so lovely. Bluest skies became so lovely. Bluest skies. I can't go back, but I hate where I am. I can't go back, but I hate where I am. Became so lovely. Bluest skies became so lovely. Bluest skies. I'd find myself. Maybe I'm not alone. I'd find myself. Maybe I'm not alone. Became so lovely. Bluest skies became so lovely. Bluest skies. I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear. I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear. One, two, three. Became so lovely.
I don't even know anymore.
Bluest skies.
I've done so much because I was afraid.
So lovely. Bluest skies. I can't go back.
I'm back inside the mirror,
But I
except
hate where I am.
I put myself here.
I can't go back.
Are you kidding?
But I hate
There's
where
nothing
I am.
here. Maybe I'm tired of running away. Maybe I'd rather be with everyone and be in danger than be safe and alone.
They'd be glad to have you back.
I don't know. If I went back now, there's no way things could go back to how they were.
Yeah, but that's all right.
I'm not alone.
Things would just be different.
What do you mean?
Well,
Maybe I'm not alone. Became so lovely. Bluest skies.
when you go back, we should all hang out more.
Huh. when I go back.
I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear.
Terror deep inside me.
Became so lovely. Blue skies. I can't go back, but I hate where I am. I can't go back, but I hate where I am. Became so lovely. Blue skies. Became so lovely. Blue skies.
I got just outside the Milky Way and I felt so lonely.
So why didn't you just come back?
I want to, but I just can't. Not after the way I left. What would Peridot say? What if the diamonds show up? What if something bad happens?
Blue skies became so lovely. Blue skies. I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear. I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear.
Well, what if something good happens?
Well, come back. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? Heck yeah. I hope everybody's been having a nice little break there. And Lay, goodness, it's good to see you. I'm glad to see you made it to the stream. I don't know, returning faces is, I don't know, is one of I don't know, it's one of my favorite things to see. I don't know, like it warms my heart to know that somebody came across what I do here and loved it so much to, I don't know, to be like upset about missing part of the stream. That's pretty dang cool. If you're worried about missing it, you can always join the Discord or follow the Twitter, and you'll get a notification anytime the stream pops up. Just so as you know. But heck yeah, how's everybody doing? How are we feeling? Yeah, no, thank goodness you're here in time for the final chapter, at least. Yeah, it's getting to be a little late on my end, but we're gonna read through this last chapter and then call it a night. I do post it on Twitter. Thankfully, with Streamlabs, it does it for me. Anytime I go live, it tosses something up to the Twitter that has the title of the stream and a link to it. Indeed, it could be helpful. Well, shoot, nice. It's cool to have have a lot of the gang here for the final chapter. Are you guys ready for story time? Have you gotten cozy in your seats or wherever you might be and feeling ready for chapter 18 of Percy Jackson? Well, ready or not, here it comes. Sorry, May. Big spoiler time is coming in. Hey, what's up, Nats? Welcome, welcome. You're just in time for the start of the chapter. What's up, Nanner? South Brazil. Are you guys from Brazil? Brazil. South Brazil. What's up? Becania. In Vassal, Brazil. KS. I apologize, guys, but I do not understand what you are saying. I welcome you to the channel, though, and hope you enjoy the dulcet tones of my voice. Brazil is quite cool. Well, this is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. 18. Grover causes a stampede. Distance was shorter in the labyrinth. Still, by the time Rachel got us back to Times Square, I felt like we'd pretty much run all the way from New Mexico. We climbed out of the Marriott basement and stood on the sidewalk in the bright summer daylight, squinting at the traffic and crowds. I couldn't decide which seemed less real, New York or the crystal cave where I'd watched a god die. I led the way into an alley where I could get a nice echo. Then I whistled as loud as I could 5 times. A minute later, Rachel gasped. They're beautiful! A flock of Pegasi descended from the sky, swooping between the skyscrapers. Blackjack was in the lead, followed by 4 of his white friends.
Yo, boss.
He spoke in my mind.
You lived. You lived.
Yeah, I told him. I'm lucky that way. Listen, we need a ride to camp. Quick.
That's my specialty. Oh man, you got that Cyclops with you? Yo, Guido, how's your back holding up?
The Pegasus Guido groaned and complained, but eventually he agreed to carrying Tyson. Everybody started saddling up, except Rachel. Well, she told me, I guess this is it. I nodded uncomfortably. We both knew she couldn't go to camp. I glanced at Annabeth, who was pretending to be very busy on her Pegasus. Thanks, Rachel, I said. We couldn't have done it without you. I wouldn't have missed it. I mean, except for almost dying. And Pen. Her voice faltered. He said something about your father, I remembered. What did he mean? Rachel twisted the strap on her backpack. My dad's job. He's kind of a famous businessman. You mean you're rich? Well, yeah. So that's how you got the chauffeur to help us. You just said your dad's name and... Yes! Rachel cut me off. Percy... My dad's a land developer. He flies all over the world looking for tracts of undeveloped land. She took a shaky breath. The wild. He buys it up. I hate it. But he plows it down and builds ugly subdivisions and shopping centers. And now that I've seen Pen's death, Hey, you can't blame yourself for that. You don't know the worst of it. I don't like to talk about my family. I didn't want you to know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. No, I said. It's cool. Look, Rachel, you did awesome. You led us through the maze. You were so brave. That's the only thing I'm going to judge you on. I don't care what your dad does. Rachel looked at me gratefully. Well, if you ever feel like hanging out with a mortal again, you could call me or something? Yeah. Sure. She knit her eyebrows. I guess I sounded unenthusiastic or something. That's not how I meant it. I just wasn't sure what to say with all my friends standing around. And I guess my feelings had gotten pretty mixed up the last couple of days. I mean, I'd like that, I said. My number's not in the book, she said. I've got it. Still on your hand? No way. No, I kinda memorized it. Her smile came back slowly, but a lot happier. See you later, Percy Jackson. Go save the world for me, okay? She walked off down 7th Avenue and disappeared into the crowds. When I got back to the horses, Nico was having trouble. His Pegasus kept shying away from him, reluctant to let him mount.
He smells like dead people,
the Pegasus complained.
Hey now,
Blackjack said.
Come on, pork pie. Lots of demigods smell weird. It ain't their fault. Oh, I didn't mean you, boss.
Go without me, Nico said. I don't want to go back to that camp anyway. Nico, I said, we need your help. He folded his arms and scowled. Then Annabeth put her hand on his shoulder. Nico, she said, please. Slowly, his expression softened. All right, he said reluctantly. For you. But I'm not staying. I raised an eyebrow at Annabeth, like, how come all of a sudden Nico listens to you? She stuck her tongue out at me. At last we got everybody on a Pegasus. We shot into the air, and soon we were over the East River with Long Island spread out before us. We landed in the middle of the cabin area and were immediately met by Chiron. The pot-bellied satyr, Silenus, and a couple of Apollo cabin archers. Chiron raised an eyebrow when he saw Nico, but if I expected him to be surprised by our latest news about Quintus being Daedalus or Kronos rising, I was mistaken. I feared as much, Chiron said. We must hurry. Hopefully, you have slowed down the Titan Lord, but his vanguard will still be coming through. He will be anxious for blood. Most of our defenders are already in place. Come.
Wait a minute,
Silenus demanded.
What of the search for Pan? You are almost 3 weeks overdue, Grover Underwood. Your searcher's license is revoked. Grover took a deep breath. He stood up straight and looked Silenus in the eye. Searcher's license doesn't matter anymore. The great god Pan is dead. He has passed on and left us his spirit. What? Silenus's face turned bright red. Sacrilege and lies! Grover Underwood, I will have you exiled for speaking thus. It's true, I said. We were there when he died. All of us. Impossible! You are all liars! Nature destroyers! Chiron studied Grover's face. We will speak of this later. We will speak of it now, Silenus said. We must deal with this. Silenus, Chiron cut in. My camp is under attack. The matter of Pan has waited 2,000 years. I fear it will have to wait a bit longer, assuming we are still here this evening. On that happy note, he readied his bow and galloped toward the woods, leaving us to follow as best we could. It was the biggest military operation I'd ever seen at camp. Everyone was at the clearing, dressed in full battle armor, but this time it wasn't for capture the flag. The Festus cabin had set up traps around the entrance to the Labyrinth. Razor wire, pits filled with pots of Greek fire, rows of sharpened sticks to deflect a charge. Beckendorf was manning 2 catapults the size of pickup trucks, already primed and aimed at Zeus's fist. The Ares cabin was on the front line, drilling in flanks formation with Clarice calling orders. Apollo's and Hermes' cabins were scattered in the woods with bows ready. Many had taken up positions in trees. Even the dryads were armed with bows, and the satyrs trotted around with wooden cudgels and shields made of rough tree bark. Annabeth went to join her brethren from the Athena cabin. who had set up a command tent and were directing operations. A gray banner with an owl fluttered outside the tent. Our security chief, Argus, stood at the door. Aphrodite's children were running around, straightening everybody's armor and offering to comb the tangles out of the horsehair plumes. Even Dionysus's kids had found something to do. The god himself was still nowhere to be seen, but his two blonde twin sons were running around providing all the sweaty warriors with water bottles and juice boxes. It looked like a pretty good setup, but Chiron muttered next to me.
It isn't enough.
I thought about what I'd seen in the Labyrinth. All the monsters in Antaeus' stadium, and the power of Kronos I'd felt on Mount Tam. My heart sank. Chiron was right. But it was all we could muster. For once I wished Dionysus was here. But even if he had been, I didn't know if he could do anything. When it came to war, gods were forbidden to interfere directly. Apparently, the Titans didn't believe in restrictions like that. Over at the edge of the clearing, Grover was talking to Juniper. She held his hands while he told her our story. Green tears formed in her eyes as he delivered the news about Pan. Tyson helped the Festus kids prepare the defenses. He picked up boulders and piled them next to the catapults for firing.
Stay with me, Percy,
Chiron said.
When the fighting begins, I want you to wait until we know what we're dealing with. You must go where we need reinforcements the most.
I saw Kronos, I said, still stunned by the fact. I looked straight into his eyes. It was Luke. But it wasn't. Chiron ran his fingers along his bowstring.
He had golden eyes, I would guess. And in his presence, time seemed to turn to liquid.
I nodded. How could he take over a mortal body?
I do not know, Percy. Gods have assumed the shapes of mortals for ages. But to actually become one, to merge the divine form with the mortal, I don't know how this could be done without Luke's form turning to ashes.
Kronos said his body had been prepared.
I shudder to think what that means. But perhaps it will limit Kronos' power. For a time, at least, he is confined to a human form. It binds him together. Hopefully, it also restricts him.
Chiron, if he leads this attack...
I do not think so, my boy. I would sense if he were drawing near. No doubt he planned to, but I believe you inconvenienced him when you pulled down his throne room on top of him.
He looked at me reproachfully.
You and your friend Nico, son of Hades.
A lump formed in my throat. I'm sorry, Chiron. I know I should have told you. It's just...
Chiron raised his hand. I understand why you did it, Percy. You felt responsible, and sought to protect him. But, my boy, if we are to survive this, we must trust each other. We must...
His voice wavered. The ground underneath us was trembling. Everyone in the clearing stopped what they were doing. Clarice barked a single order. Lock shields! Then the Titan Lord's army exploded from the labyrinth. I I'd been in fights before, but this was a full-scale battle. The first thing I saw were a dozen Lastrygonian giants erupting from the ground, yelling so loudly my ears felt like bursting. They carried shields made from flattened cars, and clubs that were tree trunks with rusty spikes bristling at the end. One of the giants bellowed at the Ares' flanks, smashed it sideways with his club, and the entire cabin was thrown aside. A dozen warriors tossed to the wind like rag dolls. "Fire!" Beckendorf yelled. The catapult swung into action. 2 boulders hurtled toward the giants. One deflected off a car shield, with hardly a dent, but the other caught a Lastrygonian in the chest, and the giant went down. Apollo's archers fired a volley, dozens of arrows striking in the thick armor of the giants like porcupine quills. Several found chinks in armor, and some of the giants vaporized at the touch of celestial steel, celestial bronze. But just when it looked like the Lastrygonians were about to get overwhelmed, the next wave surged out of the maze. 30, maybe 40 Drachni in full battle armor, wielding spears and nets. They dispersed in all directions. Some hit the traps that Hephaestus' cabin had laid. One got stuck on the spikes and became an easy target for archers. Another triggered a tripwire, and pots of Greek fire exploded into green flames, engulfing several of the snake women. But many more kept coming. Argus and Athena's warriors rushed forward to meet them. I saw Annabeth draw a sword and engage one of them. Nearby, Tyson was riding a giant. Somehow, he'd managed to climb onto the giant's back and was hitting him on the head with a bronze shield. Bong! 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 Chiron calmly aimed arrow after arrow, taking down a monster with every shot. But more enemies just kept climbing out of the maze. Finally, a hellhound, not Mrs. O'Leary, leapt out of the tunnel and barreled straight toward the satyrs. "Go!" Chiron yelled to me. I drew Riptide and charged. As I raced across the battlefield, I saw horrible things. An enemy half-blood was fighting with the son of Dionysus, but it wasn't much of a contest. The enemy stabbed him in the arm and clubbed him over the head with the butt of his sword, and Dionysus' son went down. Another enemy warrior shot flaming arrows into the trees, sending our archers and dryads into a panic. A dozen Drachni suddenly broke away from the main fight and slithered down the path that led toward camp, like they knew where they were going. If they got out, they could burn down the entire place, completely unopposed. The only person anywhere near was Nico D'Angelo. He stabbed a Telkine, and his black Stygian blade absorbed the monster's essence, drinking in its energy until there was nothing left but dust. "Nico!" I yelled. He looked where I was pointing, saw the serpent women, and immediately understood. He took a deep breath and held out his black sword. "Serve me," he called. The earth trembled. A fissure opened in front of the Drachni, and a dozen undead warriors crawled from the earth. Horrible corpses in military uniforms from all different time periods. U.S. revolutionaries, Roman centurions, Napoleonic cavalry on skeletal horses. As one, they drew their swords and engaged the Drachni. Nico crumpled to his knees, but I didn't have time to make sure he was okay. I closed on the hellhound, which was now pushing the satyrs back toward the woods. The beast snapped at one satyr, who danced out of its way, but then it pounced on another, who was too slow. The satyr's tree bark shield cracked as he fell. Hey! I yelled. The hellhound turned. It snarled at me and leapt. It would have clawed me to pieces. But as I fell backwards, my fingers closed around a clay jar, one of Beckendorf's containers of Greek fire. I tossed it into the hellhound's maw. The creature went up in flames. I scrambled away, breathing heavily. The satyr who'd gotten trampled wasn't moving. I rushed over to check on him, but then I heard Grover's voice. Percy! A forest fire had started. Flames roared within 10 feet of Juniper's tree, and Juniper and Grover were going nuts trying to save it. Grover played a rain song on his pipes. Juniper desperately tried to beat out the flames with her green shawl, but it was only making things worse. I ran towards them, jumping past stools, weaving between the legs of giants. The nearest water was the creek, half a mile away, but I had to do something. I concentrated. There was a pull in my gut, a roar in my ears. Then a wall of water came rushing through the trees. It doused the fire. Juniper, Grover, and pretty much everything else. Grover blew a spout of water. Thanks, Percy. No problem. I ran back toward the fight, and Grover and Juniper followed. Grover had a cudgel in his hand, and Juniper held a stick, like an old-fashioned whipping switch. She looked really angry, like she was going to tan somebody's backside. Just when it seemed like the battle had balanced out again, like we might have a slim sliver of a chance, an unearthly shriek echoed out of the labyrinth, a sound I had heard before. Campe shot into the sky, her bat wings fully extended. She landed on the top of Zeus's fist and surveyed the carnage. Her face was filled with evil glee. The mutant animal heads growled at her waist. Snakes hissed and swirled around her legs. In her right hand, she held a glittering ball of thread, Ariadne's string. But she popped it into her lion's mouth at her waist and drew her curved swords. The blades glowed green with poison. Campe screeched in triumph, and some of the campers screamed. Others tried to run and got trampled by hellhounds or giants. De mortalis! Chiron yelled. He quickly aimed an arrow, but Campe seemed to sense his presence. She took flight with amazing speed, and Chiron's arrow whizzed harmlessly past her head. Tyson untangled himself from the giant, whom he'd pummeled into unconsciousness. He ran at our lines, shouting,
Stand! Do not run from her! Fight!
But then a hellhound leapt on him, and Tyson and the hound went rolling away. Campe landed on the Athena command tent, smashing it flat. I ran after her and found Annabeth at my side, keeping pace, her sword in her hand. This might be it, she said. Could be. Nice fighting with you, seaweed brain. Ditto. Together we leapt into the monster's path. Campe hissed and sliced at us. I dodged, trying to distract her, while Annabeth went in for a strike, but the monster seemed able to fight with both hands independently. She blocked Annabeth's sword, and Annabeth had to jump back to avoid the cloud of poison. Just being near the thing was like standing in an acid fog. My eyes burned. My lungs couldn't get enough air. I knew we couldn't stand our ground for more than a few seconds. Come on, I shouted. We need help! But no one came. Everyone was either down, or fighting for their lives, or too scared to move forward. 3 of Chiron's arrows sprouted from Campe's chest, but she just roared louder. "No!" Annabeth said. Together we charged, dodged the monster's slashes, got inside her guard, and almost managed to stab Campe in the chest. But a huge bear's head lashed out from the monster's waist, and we had to stumble backward to avoid getting bitten. Slam! My eyesight went black. The next thing I knew, Annabeth and I were on the ground. The monster had its forelegs on our chests, holding us down. Hundreds of snakes slithered right above me, hissing like laughter. Campe raised her green-tinged swords, and I knew Annabeth and I were out of options. Then behind me, something howled. A wall of darkness slammed into Campe, sending the monster sideways. And Mrs. O'Leary was standing over us, snarling and snapping at Campe. "Good girl," said a familiar voice. Daedalus was fighting his way out of the labyrinth, slashing down enemies left and right as he made his way towards us. Next to him was something else. Someone else. A familiar giant, much taller than the Lastrygonians, with 100 rippling arms, each holding a huge chunk of rock.
"Briares!"
Tyson cried in wonder.
"Hail, little brother!"
Briares bellowed.
"Stand firm!"
And as Mrs. O'Leary leapt out of the way, the 100-handed one launched a volley of boulders at Campe. The rocks seemed to enlarge as they left Briares' hands. There were so many, it looked like half the earth had learned to fly.
Boom!
Where Campe had stood a moment before was a mountain of boulders, almost as tall as Zeus's fist. The only sign that the monster had ever existed were 2 green swords sticking through the cracks. A cheer went up from the campers. Our enemies weren't done yet, though. One of the Drachni yelled,
"Slay them! Kill them all, or Kronos will flay you alive!"
Apparently, that threat was more terrifying than we were. The giants surged forward in a last desperate attempt. One surprised Chiron with a glancing blow to the back legs, and he stumbled and fell. 6 giants cried in glee and rushed forward. "No!" I screamed, but I was too far away to help. Then it happened. Grover opened his mouth, and the most horrible sound I'd ever heard came out. It was like a brass trumpet, magnified 1,000 times. The sound of pure fear. As one, the forces of Kronos dropped their weapons and ran for their lives. The giants trampled the Drachni, trying to get into the labyrinth first. Telkines and hellhounds and enemy half-bloods scrambled after them. The tunnel rumbled shut, and the battle was over. The clearing was quiet, except for fires burning in the woods and the cries of the wounded. I helped Annabeth to her feet. We ran to Chiron.
"Are you all right?"
I asked. He was lying on his side, trying in vain to get up.
"How embarrassing,"
he muttered.
"I think I will be fine. Fortunately, we do not shoot centaurs with broken legs."
You need help, Annabeth said. I'll get a medic from Apollo's cabin.
No, Chiron insisted. There are more serious injuries to attend to. Go. I am fine. But Grover... Later, we must talk about how you did that.
That was amazing, I agreed. Grover blushed. I don't know where it came from. Juniper hugged him fiercely. I do. Before she could say more, Tyson called.
Percy, come quick. It is Nico.
There was smoke curling off his black clothes. His fingers were clenched, and the grass all around his body had turned yellow and died. I rolled him over as gently as I could and put my hand against his chest. His heart was beating faintly.
Get some nectar,
I yelled. One of the Ares campers hobbled over and handed me a canteen. I trickled some of the magic drink into Nico's mouth. He coughed and spluttered, but his eyelids fluttered open. Nico, what happened? I asked. Can you talk? He nodded weakly. Never tried to summon so many before. I'll be fine. We helped him sit up and gave him some more nectar. He blinked at all of us, like he was trying to remember who we were. And then he focused on someone behind me. Daedalus! Daedalus? He croaked.
Yes, my boy, the inventor said. I made a very bad mistake. I came to correct it.
Daedalus had a few scratches that were bleeding golden oil, but he looked better than most of us. Apparently, his automaton body healed itself quickly. Mrs. O'Leary loomed behind us, licking the wounds on his master's head so Daedalus's hair stood up funny. Briares stood next to him, surrounded by a group of odd campers and satyrs. He looked kind of bashful, but he was signing autographs on armor and shields and t-shirts.
I found the 100-handed one as I came through the maze, Daedalus explained. It seems he had the same idea to come help, but he was lost. And so we fell in together. We both came to make amends.
Yay!
Tyson jumped up and down.
Briares! I knew you would come.
I did not know,
the 100-handed one said.
But you reminded me who I am, Cyclops. You are the hero.
Tyson blushed, and I patted him on the back. I knew that a long time ago, I said. But Daedalus, the Titan army is still down there. Even without the string, they'll be back. They'll find a way sooner or later, with Kronos leading them. Daedalus sheathed his sword.
You're right. As long as the Labyrinth is here, your enemies can use it. Which is why the Labyrinth cannot continue.
Annabeth stared at him. But you said the Labyrinth is tied to your life force. As long as you're alive.
Yes, my young architect, Daedalus agreed. When I die, the Labyrinth will die as well. And so, I have a present for you.
He slung a leather satchel off his back, unzipped it, and produced a sleek silver laptop computer. One of the ones I'd seen in his workshop. On the lid was the blue symbol, Delta.
My work is here, he said. It's all I managed to save from the fire. Notes on projects I never started. Some of my favorite designs. I couldn't develop these over the last few millennia. I did not dare reveal my work to the mortal world. But perhaps you will find it interesting.
He handed the computer to Annabeth, who stared at it like it was solid gold.
You're giving this to me? But this is priceless. This is worth... I don't even know how much.
Small compensation for the way I've acted, Daedalus said. You were right, Annabeth. And about children of Athena. We should be wise, and I was not. Someday, you will be a greater architect than I ever was. Take my ideas and improve them. It is the least I can do before I pass on.
Whoa, I said. Pass on? But you can't just kill yourself. That's wrong. He shook his head.
Not as wrong as hiding from my crimes for 2,000 years. Genius does not excuse evil, Percy. My time has come. I must face my punishment.
You won't get a fair trial, Annabeth said. The spirit of Minos sits in judgment.
I will take what comes, he said, and trust in the justice of the underworld, such as it is. That is all we can do, isn't it?
He looked straight at Nico, and Nico's face darkened.
Yeah, he said. Will you take my soul for ransom, then? Daedalus asked. You could use it to reclaim your sister.
No, Nico said. I will help you release your spirit. But Bianca has passed.
She must stay where she is.
Daedalus nodded.
Well done, son of Hades. You are becoming wise.
Then he turned toward me.
One last favor, Percy Jackson. I cannot leave Mrs. O'Leary alone, and she has no desire to return to the underworld. Will you care for her?
I looked at the massive black hound, who whimpered pitifully, still licking Daedalus's hair. I was thinking that my mom's apartment wouldn't allow dogs, especially dogs bigger than the apartment. But I said, yeah, of course I will.
Then I am ready to see my son. And Perdix, he said, I must tell them how sorry I am.
Annabeth had tears in her eyes. Daedalus turned toward Nico, who drew his sword. At first, I was afraid Nico would kill the old inventor, but he simply said, Your time has long since come. Be released and rest. A smile of relief spread across Daedalus's face. He froze like a statue. His skin turned transparent, revealing the bronze gears and machinery whirring inside his body. Then the statue turned to gray ash and disintegrated. Mrs. O'Leary howled. I patted her head. trying to comfort her as best I could. The earth rumbled, an earthquake that could probably be felt in every major city across the country, as the ancient labyrinth collapsed. Somewhere, I hoped, the remains of the Titan's strike force had been buried. I looked around at the carnage in the clearing, and the weary faces of my friends. "Come on," I told them. "We have work to do." Golly. We're pretty close to the end, guys. Sorry, let me catch up with chat a little bit. I saw for a good while there was like an invasion of Brazilians? Question mark? Serenade us with your beautiful voice, Mitchie. Thank you, Thareem. Very crisp a voice. I try to keep it crispy. Ooh, cell membrane. Like rain falling from the clouds. You... You sound like my microwave. Soothing and nice. That's probably the best way my voice has ever been described, membrane. Holy crap. And thank you. I'm flattered, to say the least. My microwave is very soothing. It's not like thy regular wave of the micro. It is quiet, calming, and resonating. Heck yeah, dude. I feel that. For me, that's my my tea kettle. Just chilling there, like in the kitchen, listening to the sound of the kettle heat up slowly but surely. It's a real nice thing. Do I have voice cracks? Voice cracks. I do, every now and then. Happens once every blue moon. In fact, I've even tried to force a couple in this series that I've done here with Percy Jackson. Because there's been points where people's voices have faltered and broken. And a lot of times whenever that comes up, I like to end it on like some kind of uncontrollable voice crack of some kind. Can you put a suppressor on a kettle? Suppressor? Like what? What? What does that mean? Hey May, welcome. Welcome back. Glad to see you made it. Also, I saw that comment earlier. I think that was Keaton. Yeah, I saw that comment earlier, Keaton. You were getting chills. Good, good. That means I was doing my job right. When did you know you wanted to be a voice actor? Oh, like a silencer membrane, huh? When did I know? I'd say, well, since I was little, I've enjoyed acting in general. I was in a lot of plays and musicals growing up, and and just in general, like hanging out with friends and things like that. Even if I was talking normally to someone, like if I was in a joking mood, I would I don't know, my voice would suddenly sound like this, and then
And then I would be like, haha, yes, this is when I did this. Um, Dude, it especially came out when I would talk about my parents. Like, if I had something really serious I needed to say, like, and then my mom was like, haha, son, you can't do that. You're stupid. Go to your room. I'd always switch into, like, some kind of, like, goofy voice whenever, like, quote-unquote mimicking them. Dude, it never ceased. It never failed to get a laugh from my friends. Because immediately afterwards, they would giggle and ask. That's how your mom delivered it, too. Exactly in that voice, right? So anyways, like, I've been wanting to see, like, what lengths... And I've been utilizing my voice in this manner for a long time. I think even before I knew I wanted to do voice acting. And so since it's something that feels so natural to me, like after following Critical Role for a good solid amount of time, and after starting this Twitch page, actually, like I have felt more and more certain about my desire to be a voice actor. I don't know if there was a specific moment in time, though, that was like that turning point, you know? Yeah, believe it or not, I was Farquaad in, you're looking at the face of Farquaad in my high school, Shrek musical. One of the best roles I've ever played. Such a unique and exquisite thing to do on Twitch. Thank you, Membrane. That, dude, it means the world to know that you think that. 'Cause I certainly feel the same. Dude, Farquaad is a hottie. A hottie with a tiny body. Lord Farquaad. Yeah, dude, he was a hoot and a half to play. Right? Dude, I mean, to be honest, that whole production kind of felt like a dream. It was a little surreal. Oh, to be Lord Farquaad. I know, right? I wake up every morning, and you know what grinds my gears as soon as I'm up? I wake up, I look in the mirror, and I'm like, and I don't see Lord Farquaad staring back at me. I mean, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do when I don't see Lord Farquaad staring back at me? I'm sorry, I'm really curious. What do you look like without your glasses? Well... I look like this. Ta-da. Yeah, I don't know. And the funny thing is, like, these are legitimately reading glasses. In my day-to-day, I don't wear them very often. But it certainly does help. I think I'm farsighted, so I can see things far away, way clearer. So, like, for instance, reading chat on the screen I have over there is way easier than reading the chat, like, right here, if I don't have my glasses on. Farquaad's that half-Korean YouTuber, right? He does the pretty funny Let's Play? I think so, dude. Beautiforno. Faceru forte. What? Question mark? Would you like to listen to some Argentinian music?
No thank you. I appreciate the offer, but no thank you. Do I speak French? Oui, oui. No, no, no. I do not speak French. I do not speak the French. I can sort of do the French accent, but it is only so. I know, like with the French accent, it either has to be grand and romantic, or oddly aggressive. I don't know. It's like the only way I can get into that accent. I speak Bolivian. I speak Paragua. Nice. Do I know where is Argentina? I do, indeed. Can you say my name like Elmo? Let's see, what the heck does Elmo sound like again?
Ooh, I'm Elmo. Therein, Barnett, nurse. Elmo wants to say, Therein, Barnett, nurse.
No, that's the best I got.
Elmo.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I felt like that was kind of a crossbreed of Elmo and Mickey Mouse, but I suppose that's what we'll get. Thank you, May. Thank you. You are so very welcome, Thereem. I rather like your name. I forget if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but the way I pronounce it with, like, Thereem, it sounds like a dream. I have a picture of Elmo being hanged. No kidding. It's a plush, though. It's fine. I agree, May. I trust you too, Membrane. Don't worry. I mean, even if it was the real Elmo, don't tell the kids this, but it would still be fine. Elmo is, in fact, a puppet. Dude, I love the Muppets. And Sesame Street. What I wouldn't give to have gone back in time and worked on, like, on the set of Sesame Street and or the Muppets during its, like, heyday, would have been so cool.
Say, Dareem's name like Kermit. What? Why would I ever do that? Dareem Burnett Nurs. 420. It said the funny number. Yeah. Yep. It said it has the funny number in it, which makes it a little bit better than most names. You know, if you ask me.
Dude, I love Kermit. He has that like, I just, anytime I imagine him talking, like, I imagine his little, like, head bob, like that little,
Yeah, you know, and, cause,
and it's so freaking adorable. That way of talking. and the thing is, like, I don't think I could pull it off. Like, if I was sitting here going, like, I don't think it wouldn't be nearly as good as little Kermit. Kermit is like a tiny adult. Heck yeah. Yeah, Dareem, your name is Baller. Elmo scared me when I was little. Not gonna lie, Elmo scared me as well. And once I got access to the internet, I started seeing like those YouTube videos with like, you know, scary Tickle Me Elmo doll. Do you guys know those? Did you come across those when you were younger too? All those YouTube videos that had like Tickle Me Elmo, but it was like Elmo says the F word or something. Yeah, I mean he's got that like a kind of voice that can very easily be switched on its head, like flipped on its head and turned into something that is terrifying. Building up points to put a book on your head. Should I add another button for like stacking them on my head instead of my face? I'm curious. Have you seen Elmo on a talk show interview? Yeah, man, I have. It's so good. Have you guys seen Jack Black on Sesame Street? With his octagon. It's like one of my favorite Sesame Street things. What? I watched very exquisite videos when I was a child. Alright, so I'm pausing a second to wait to see if it does in fact stop at 3. Okay. Here I go. I did put a limit on the book on face. It was getting a little out of hand. Like I'm cool with I'm cool with at least like 1 or 2 segments like in each. I don't know. I'm cool with like 1 segment per stream with like the whole dramatic book on face thing, but I don't want it to be like I don't know. I don't want it to pop up like every 5 seconds, you know? Know what I'm saying, man? Man can only become so enlightened in one night, you know? Man can only place so many words upon his face. Indeed, you guys got to be here for the heyday of book on face. When it was unlimited. I forget what the limit is. The limit is still like, I think it's like only 2 or 3 per stream or something. So if you guys really want, you can still like chain them together and get me to do the 10 again. How enlightened am I on a scale of 1 to 10? I would say I've gotten to and lie out of 10. And lie out of 10, Ed. Get it? Do you get it though? Every 10 followers you put 10 extra books on your face along with the books from the previous 10. Let's see how far you can go. I don't know about that one, dude. I'm cool with if you guys like all come together, band together as a community and throw over 10 books on face at me. And I'll do my best. But I won't be making it an event of any kind. In light at a 10. I have a funny number of followers. Am I at 6'9"? I am! This is a moment I need to commemorate. Hang on, I gotta get a screenshot of this. Give me the snipping tool. New, please. Oh yeah. Alright, good stuff. Oh, Membrane. Thank you for the Prime. I appreciate that greatly. Man, sweetness. We get closer to the sub-ambition with efforts like that. Oh. Well, I'm pleased that you remembered. Honestly, thank you. I hope you enjoy the emotes. And, I believe tier 1, you evolve from a wildflower to a orchid. So, congratulations, you've become an orchid amongst the wildflowers. I believe with Twitch Prime, it'll keep your Twitch subscription to the person that you have it on, unless you decide to switch it or yeah, and I think it's only if you decide to switch it. But it's greatly appreciated because it's I don't know, you've probably heard this spiel before from other Twitch streamers, but the whole Twitch Prime thing is immensely helpful because it's free for you to connect the Amazon account to your Twitch account, and then you can support a Twitch streamer of your choosing with $5 a month, just from having an Amazon Prime account. Pretty darn cool. With no extra cost to you. Right on. Well, I would be elated to see you resub next month if you so choose. What do you guys think about for Fantasy Friday? Would you guys be interested in me starting Fantasy Friday by finishing this book? Or shall we wait till next week to finish it? Because, I don't know, it feels kind of wrong to just leave off with like one chapter left.
Or like one or two. Good, good, okay. So I'm not alone in wanting that. Yeah, and it won't even take the whole stream. Right on. Good stuff. Yes, please. Finish it. I need to... I'm trying to look for more fantasy stories, too. Because I believe with us finishing... With me finishing what is on the Azrian portal, there's still a fair amount that I can find, but... I don't know, I'm thinking like maybe I'll try to find a fantasy novella of sorts. Because I think the fantasy night, it'd be worth doing like a longer story. Because we've checked out a lot of the really good like fantasy short stories, but kind of want to do a Baraska thing with Fantasy Fridays. Yeah, dude. Honestly, I'd be chill with that. Percy Jackson on Fridays to start things off. And honest to goodness, I'd appreciate it too. It would make preparing for a Friday stream a little less stressful on my end, which would be real nice. Cause that way I know, like, well, hey, at least the first like hour or so of the stream is gonna be some solid Percy time. Well, excellent, excellent. Very excellent. I think we are I'm gonna start moseying on towards ending the stream here. It pains me to do so, especially with so many peeps showing up. But alas, it's probably best that I get to bed by at least 2 a.m. I've never read Percy, but hearing you read it makes me want to. Dude, oh my gosh. That's one of the, I mean, that's one of my goals here, is to inspire others to read and to introduce people to literature that I love, and to have an opportunity to introduce myself and you guys to like new literature too. That's one of like the goals here, and it's really cool to hear you say that. I'd highly suggest it, man. You can get like the whole series in paperback for pretty cheap on Amazon. I went and splurged on the hardcover. That's just cause dude, I love this series so much. And look at it, dude. Look at these books. They're so nice. They're so nice. And dude, they're already getting well loved. You know that look of a book whenever it's been held and handled like a lot? Dude, it's a beautiful look. I read the first book like 5 years ago. Now Mitch has made me want to reread the series. Or read the whole series. Dude, again, that's one of the missions here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's go. This may be more of a series for kids, but would you consider incorporating some Animorphs books into your sci-fi Sundays? I absolutely would. Are you kidding me? And those books are short enough to where we could probably read like one whole book like after 2 weekends or something. Dang, I need to get my hands on some though. I don't own any myself. But I imagine they might be fairly cheap on Amazon. I've been meaning to also order like some short story collections. Like, thankfully, I have a couple of collections already online in PDF form, but I want to, I want to get some physical copies. The only thing that kind of stinks with that is that I won't be able to show it on screen. But it'll be much like how the Percy streams are, where you get to see more of my face, and simply hear it read rather than see it as well. And shoot, thank you, Hot Numbers. I appreciate the follow. I can use my Twitch Prime mid next month. Heck, well, thank you. It means a lot that you would think that far ahead. Nice. I'm glad have you been enjoying the stream? If you're just getting here, you missed out on the main event where we read some Percy Jackson. Nice. Shoot, dude. Tonight has been a great success. It's very nice and relaxing. Awesome. That's another one of my missions here. I aim to I don't know. Like read a bedtime story. Just as a parent would read to a child. And it's all in an effort to practice my voice acting. Train my voice and get it to be better and better, stream by stream. Nice, Hot Numbers. I'm honest, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Well, alright guys. Like I said, this stream has been a great success. Give myself a pat on the back here. Thank you all for making it, entertaining for me and a relaxing time and just some wholesome story time. You're welcome for the swag time, the Reem. I hope I see you tomorrow. We'll be on by around 8 or 9. I think more like 8. 8 p.m.-ish. We'll see how I'm feeling after practice tomorrow. But yeah. Let me go ahead and load up the outro theme. Thank you everybody for coming by. I pray you enjoyed yourself, that you felt cozy and comfy as I. And be sure to take the merriment that we fostered tonight. Hold it deep in your heart and soul. Keep it there. Don't let go. Take it to bed with you and let it flourish into the morrow. This has been a beautiful time, my wildflowers, and until I return, keep on swaying. I'll see you next time. Much love, guys.